It's Tuesday, April 4th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple podcast. I am your co-host, Chris Quinn, joined by your other co-host, Mike Shalau. What's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. That was a great intro.
Yes.
Your best.
Yes. Well, I feel like Papa is watching over me right now,
right.
trying
Just
to
wanna
see
make
if
Papa
my
proud.
intros are as good as they used to be, and I'm trying to explain that they're not.
Yeah.
But that said, I want to welcome everyone to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm going to try to do it as official as I can. So we're here in Studio F and at the Beer Temple. And we got the Fade Master here as well. So thanks to him for coming on. Thanks to Lumpin' Radio, as always, for having us on. 105.5 FM, WLPN, Bridgeport, Chicago. And its fearless leaders who always allow us to, do what we do here. And thanks to the listeners, whether it's over the airwaves or via podcast. So thanks to all you folks out there as well. How'd I do, Ed? Was that okay? Were you even listening?
You know, Chris, I was expecting something a little bit more
Heartfelt.
Long-winded and heartfelt, yeah. But I have to say that I'm a little concerned that you changed the name of the show about a year or so ago from Insiders Roundtable to the podcast.
Yeah, I don't like the new name as much, but
It's a podcast.
It's not an Insiders Roundtable anymore.
No, it's a square.
We talked about for about
it's
10
square.
seconds. Where it's, what should we call it? Beer Temple Podcast? Okay.
I'm just saying, name change throws me off. I don't know what show I'm on anymore.
Well, this is the
we
round
are
table.
doing a roundtable, which makes it even more confusing.
Oh, okay.
You're
I feel
back.
much better now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You did a great job, though.
Thanks.
I love hearing your sexy voice.
Oh, likewise. The feeling is mutual, Ed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but you haven't been introduced. You'll be first. Don't worry. But we have to do our little banter that we always do beforehand, where I ask Mike how he's doing. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I think we did that, didn't we?
Oh, maybe we already did.
Well, either way, I'm good. Baseball's back.
Yes.
I take opening day off every day and watch the Yankees home opener. Used to get taken out of school to go and watch it.
That's cool.
When they had season tickets, yeah. My mom would say it was a religious holiday. It's the excuse for being taken out of school.
Okay.
Big baseball family.
That's cool.
They're playing the Phillies right now, actually.
The Yankees are.
They are.
Already?
Mm-hmm. The Yankees start with 2 interleague matchups in a row. They play the Giants. Also, the Phillies, setting records. First team to ever play in the World Series and then lose the first 4 games of the next season.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Record breakers.
Yeah, well. So they've lost at least 5 in a row now.
4. They're
maybe
playing
6.
right now. Well, by the time this comes out, it might be like 7 or 9.
Yeah, probably. Well, what are you going to do?
It's early.
It's early.
Yeah.
It's early. They're still National League champs. So.
Yeah, for at least 6 more months.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations for that, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome. It's a great way to accept
I love how you,
congratulations for something you didn't do.
Feeling like you're responsible for the national champions in Philadelphia. And it's something to do
Prove
with
I'm
like
not.
your mummers kind
Yeah.
of like pride.
Chris is the big mummers guy.
I am a big mummers guy.
You're in it every year?
More or less. Spiritually, I am.
Yeah, spiritually, sure.
Spiritually, I am.
Just like
In
spiritually,
that
you're on the Phillies.
I'm having I usually have a drink every New Year's Day.
Nice.
So there. I'm
That's pretty much
spiritually
every day, though, right?
in the mummers. Not entirely, no.
All right.
But
Good banter.
Yeah, good banter. I
did it.
really
Solid banter.
I really enjoyed the Zombie Dust Radio Hour.
Thank you. It was this. I think it was the 463rd episode. But
Yeah,
the
I had
second
to do.
one that got
I had
aired.
to do a lot, so I'm gonna come clean. I'd missed a few episodes, so
Of the Zombie Dust Radio Hour?
I listened to episode 1, and then I saw that episode 463 was out, and I was like, oh shit!
Yep.
I have to go back. So I went back and I listened to the other 461 hours.
So you have the archives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took
Oh, yeah,
a
of
long
course you
time.
do, yeah.
I didn't sleep.
Right.
And if you think, well, that was last week, and this is
subscribes
20
to the
days
Patreon,
worth
so.
of stuff,
Yeah.
I listened to it at 2.5 speed.
You got to.
And
got to.
it only took in a week, so I haven't slept in a week. But I'm fully caught up.
It was worth it. I can tell.
Oh, my gosh.
You know how you cram for a test in high school?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you have to do to listen to all the radio dust.
Yeah.
That's
wrote
how you
it.
get it in the head.
You wrote
Yeah.
400 hours on your wrist.
Yeah. I mean, I had to...
they're
remembering
really-
where
they're-
I was.
They're really short episodes.
No, they're
though.
hours. They're hours.
It's a radio
Zombie Dust
hour.
Radio Hour.
Oh, I thought you guys were talking about hours on Mercury.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. No, we went. I mean,
Okay.
the dust coin went to the
I'm
moon,
sorry.
but time's a flat
Its
circle.
rise
and,
was
And
mere-
Eric was on the podcast?
mere current.
Eric, last
Buster.
one's me and
Yeah.
Eric alone. Just
So anyway, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
thank you.
I stopped listening as soon as the Zombie Dust Radio was hour. Not a joke.
It was. It's a top 500 Zombie Dust Radio Hour episode for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to it. We have an Insiders Roundtable here. We've got several guests.
Great panel.
Yeah, great panel. Very excited
Great
for
table.
it. We have to, for classic Insiders Roundtable eps, we have to go with tradition, and that is introducing people by order of seniority. And it's fitting that Ed spoke even before you did, Mike. So
I think he still got me.
yeah. So
Wait a
we've
minute,
got
I still
Edmar.
have seniority.
You probably do.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You probably do.
You know, it feels like ages since I was on the Insiders Roundtable.
It has
The
been.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm really glad to be here tonight because tonight is a magic election here in Chicago.
Yeah.
There's a runoff between Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson, and as far as I know, they're neck and neck right now.
Okay.
Which is kind of incredible because it's Vallis's to lose.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to call the election tonight because there's a lot of mail-in votes, and it's going to be so close that they're going to probably count every single vote to the end, like April 18th or 17th. And also, my alderman just won her re-election on a runoff too with like a fascist MAGA guy running on like
There was a
complete
fascist
fear.
MAGA guy running?
In Bridgeport, go figure. So yeah, that guy lost. So on the runoff, the top two candidates were the the appointed alderman, who replaced a previous alderman who was indicted and got busted for not paying his taxes correctly. I think was the main charge. So she was appointed by Lightfoot, and then she just ran again, and there were
Just barely.
8 people running. She was in the top two of the runoff. Yeah. So Nicole Lee is our new alderman in the ward, and I'm very excited about that. The first female and Asian alderman in the 11th ward.
Well,
So that's good news. The other
Yes.
good news is I know that you were the zombie hour, and I know they must have been talking about zombie ice.
yes.
You know it.
But did you even know about chug ice?
Well, I know. Why
Our
don't you tell
second
us
favorite
about it?
ice product.
For the last week since we launched this, I've been getting iced wherever I go.
Oh, wow.
Even my wife says, "Hey, can you hand me the nail cutters? They're in that drawer over there." And lo and behold, there's always a can of ice. It's not cold, so I got to chug it on one knee on the floor in the kitchen. The dogs go nuts.
When I was
So,
at
yeah, this-
Pipeworks, went through a
so-
serious
so malt
icing each
liquor.
other phase, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
not good. There had to be rules of you can't get iced more than 3 times in a day because people were just getting.
People were falling for it over and over?
Oh my god! Yeah, well, they'd be like they would be.
Or were you
hidden-
looking for it?
Well, it was. We also had a rule you could block getting iced if you had a Smirnoff Ice on your person.
Yeah.
So people would be getting iced and then be like pulling out these like shivs of Smirnoff Ice, and then that person would have to chug both of them.
No.
They wouldn't actually shiv.
What is being iced?
Being iced is when someone tricks you into like looking at a Smirnoff Ice, and then you have to get down on a knee and chug it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It could be any.
It was
ice.
popular like when I was in college.
Yeah.
Like
It
20
could be.
years
It could
ago.
be any
It's
ice.
still
though.
popular.
It's
Yeah.
still
I love doing
popular.
it.
Oh yeah, very popular.
But it's
In
now
certain
it's
cir- in
We're
certain
listeners
circles,
of
it's very
this show.
popular.
it's more artisanal now, where it's chug ice,
Yes.
chug ices
Yeah,
instead
but
of
did
Smirnoff
you?
ices.
You always got on one knee though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you had to get on one knee. It's the most important thing about getting iced.
There's nothing like being at the Great Taste of the Midwest and having to chug a room temperature peach Bellini Smirnoff ice that you found in the toilet. not on the toilet.
Yeah, no, I
In
Put
the
it
toilet.
in the
in
toilet.
the toilet.
Yeah, they put it in the toilet. So you go.
Beautiful.
In the blue stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
In,
right.
in
Yeah.
the blue stuff.
That's when I like. There's got to be some rules about this. This
No rules.
is a workplace.
That's really hardcore, man.
yeah,
That's brutal.
it's fucked up.
I don't think I've ever gotten anything like that.
Yeah. Well, you're
Wow.
like your family's doing it to you. It's not a bunch of degenerates that are
at least
22.
it's in like
years
the junk drawer
old. Yeah, right.
and not the toilet.
Not the toilet.
Yeah.
The best one was probably someone opened up the control panel on the Maheen and put one in there, and then inevitably the Maheen wasn't working correctly. Not because of that, just because it's a Maheen. And
But
someone
bump.
opened the Maheen and they were
They,
pissed. James.
I was on a pro-am brew day at a brewery, and they said, "Hey Andy, could you go up to the brew deck and turn off the heater or whatever?" And then they had taped an ice to the control panel.
Oh wow.
And they're
Oh,
like,
wow.
got you good. And I'm like, all right, well, this is my life now.
Yeah,
Well, I
they-
mean,
they got you.
This is a good segue because I think you're the next senior most member today, Andy. I'm sorry, Dr. Lambic.
Yes.
Oh, he's
Yes,
a doctor.
Madame de Beer.
Doctor now.
Yeah, he's a doctor.
Sorry about that.
So don't call him Mr. Lambic.
I won't.
Yeah, you
It's
were calling him
doctor.
Mr. Lambic.
I know all week.
Yeah.
All day.
Always.
Yeah.
Sorry
Pretty
about
embarrassing
that.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Lambic. Is it MD or PhD? Or both?
It's a PhD. It's a fake doctor, as
Oh.
my virtual stepson likes to say. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it was
Quote,
both.
doctor.
Fake doctor is my
Yeah, they could go
virtual
both.
stepson.
Yeah.
What?
Who's
So,
the virtual stepson?
Yeah, what is that about?
That's my girlfriend's son. So
Nice.
virtual stepson.
Got it.
Nice.
So he is real.
Soon to be.
virtually-
He's real though.
he's
does
virtually
exist in
your
this space.
stepson.
He is not in the metaverse. He is yes.
Is LARPing.
I thought it was a little avatar
Yeah.
or something like in
Mark
Meta,
Zucker-
like
Mark Zuckerberg
like
or
this Mark
something.
Zuckerberg,
No,
like
no.
Papa.
Just floating around without legs,
Yeah.
making fun of your doctorate.
No, it's-
Hello,
it's
Papa.
very- yeah, exactly.
Your LARPing
Hello.
son.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for having me back. I
What's
am
new
a big
with you?
fan of the of both the Zombie Desk Radio Hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's like number 2. Obviously, the Roundtable is number 1. And just before this meeting, I was actually in Chicago at the Beer Temple, destroying all the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale I could get my hands on. All the Crispy Boys. Had a great time, and just missed Chris. I think our wings, we just flew just in different paths.
Yes,
the
I was
United
coming
States.
from-
He came to California. I came to Chicago. Yeah,
Right, and you're in now you're back in
now
California,
back in Cali, baby.
and I'm in Chicago. Got it.
Wow.
There you go.
Days of
Ironic,
our
right?
lives.
Yeah, yeah.
You have
how
any
it
beers
goes.
you've liked recently? I think we forgot to do
Oh,
that.
but now we do it. As we introduce people,
Yeah.
because we all know that
Yeah.
Ed likes Chug Life. Ed's
Chug
gonna-
Ice.
Ed's
Chug
Chug
Ice.
Ice, and
Yeah.
it's going to. He's going to use that to promote.
Malt
Promote
liqueur.
Chug Ice. Jungle Boogie, Chug Ice, Chug Life.
And
Yeah, cool.
how about
Yeah,
you?
cool.
How about you, Andy, Dr. Lambert?
Whenever I do these podcasts, I'd like to have a few options available, and always it'll be topical for the day. I have an athletic Run Wild non-alcoholic in front of me just to keep hydrated. But I was at Monkish, because if you live in Southern California, you better go to Monkish to get your trade bait. You want that base coat.
Right.
If you're putting 4 packs into the shippers, if you don't include at least a Monkish can, just return to sender.
Yeah. Why are you even doing it? Yeah.
So this is their West Coast India Pale Ale. So it's not as hazy. It's still quite opaque, but it's pretty good in it. Focus on the more the West Coast style. Yeah, delicious.
Isn't that just a
And
throwaway
honestly,
beer
these-
then? Since it's a West Coast IPA, isn't it just like a throwaway?
Like packing
It's, again, the
material.
base
It's
coat,
packing
but it's
material.
monkish, so it has that clout. It has that clout. It's like packing peanuts. Exactly. You get, if you don't include it, it's the shipper doesn't.
part
make
of the
it, right?
packing.
So
It's the first casualty to get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly, it's the armor. It's the Kevlar that holds the
juice.
hazies and the pastries, so that they see this. Okay, the shipping company takes this before they take everything. So okay, this is the tax that you pay.
Nice.
Right. Okay. So you've had Monkish and you had Boogie and Sierra Nevada. You're crushing them all while you're here. Cool.
Yeah, I think the best, though I will say we did a big brewery tour. We went to a few, and I had not gone to Spiteful prior, I'd not been to the actual facility. And that was a lot of fun because they have such a great selection of, in my opinion, like clean, correct, like just like every style you want, but like they do even them so well. Like we sat there for a while, just played board games, and it had all the English mild I could fathom. Before they're like, no, Andy, you have to stop drinking. You need to go to somewhere else. I'm like, I just want more English mild. So
Right. Hey, I know the feeling. I know someone who likes English mild.
Man of mystery.
Yeah, I can't tell you who he is. I'd have to kill you then. Well, thanks, Andy. And last but certainly not least, we have Jacob Sembrano of Cruz Blanco. What's up, man? How are you?
Hello. How are you? Doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, too. What's up with you? What's new? You brought some beer here, I see.
Got a couple of beers. Let's see. We're about to do our big spring releases. We're kind of a spring and summer brand, so that's when we put our best foot forward. We got Floridita coming back, which we all like a lot. Little hibiscus and passion fruit beer. We actually have this new beer that we're adding to our potential year-round portfolio. It's a chilada.
Nice.
Nothing completely new about the combination of lime and lager and salt, but we think it is executed pretty well. And we were talking about West Coast IPA. We have a Super Rica, which we got in 6-packs, hitting distro in the next couple of weeks. That's nice.
All right, yeah, I saw
Pretty
that.
simple. Nothing, not
Don't know if
fussy.
I've had it before. I don't think I have. Maybe.
And we got a bunch of pub exclusive stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks too. Smoke Alley's coming back. Got a nice little breaded honey saison, which is using about 30% honey, white honey. It's a very very distinctive
White honey.
flavor.
What is white honey?
It's just has to do with it's actually
Sounds like a band.
Yeah, it's kind of multiple things. It's like it's crystalline structure, and then also it's just really, really, really pale. So it just has to do with what the bees are feeding on.
Is like the bricks level the same, and it's just pale? It's not just like dilute. It's actually
like it has the color of like of a very clear pilsner.
Where does this come from?
This honey in particular comes from Ethiopia.
Cool.
It's really great honey.
Very.
Do you know who you get it from? By chance?
The World Bee Exchange.
Okay.
That's the most made up thing I've ever heard.
Well, I might have met the guy from the World Bee Exchange in San Diego when I was at Pure Project. There was a global honey specialist who was there. He tasted us on like 10 different honeys.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, and he deals in Chicago, I know, because he was talking about different breweries out here, and he was just hanging out. He just came up to us randomly.
That could very well be the same guy, because last year we did a collab with Maplewood where
he works with Maplewood. That's
we used like a dark Oaxacan honey in this Bach beer, which So then
I tasted that honey.
Maplewood,
interesting dude,
made the recommendation to me, and I got a ton of samples, and this one was just really thought provoking. So it works really, really nice in this beer. So
small world. He's got some crazy honeys. Like it's wild. Like the different flavors you can get, and some of them are like, I guess sometime like in this one place, the bees are really aggressive, so they have to use like a lot of smoke to kind of calm them down. And the honey has
smoky.
the honey is smoky. It's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah.
Do you have any bitter honey as well?
I don't know. I think they're all sweet.
No,
but
there's actually some bitter honey as well. But I just was wondering if this guy was sampled you out on that.
Maybe he didn't like me enough.
I like to think this guy is like G.I. Joe, but for honey, where
He's
he
the
comes into
King Kona of honey.
Comes into
obviously.
bars.
He wears a lot more
Cornered the
linen
market.
than G.I. Joe.
I don't know.
yeah, I was thinking like he's white pressed shirt tucked into his pleated khakis kind of guy.
And he's always wearing a net around his face.
He's got to, or else
Yeah.
to hide all the bee stings that are on it.
Interesting. Yeah, World Bee Exchange. I was at Pure Project. Shout out to Mike Check.
Which place?
The original place.
Nice.
And their head of sales, Mike Check.
I think I've met Mike too.
Yeah, have you? Okay.
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah.
I think.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he took me around, but anyway, this honey guy came up to us, and he had a very interesting steez, and he was
You've been in California for a while saying steez.
right. I don't think that's a California thing.
It is, Chris.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Chicago.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I learned of it from New York hip hop, so it was where I first heard the term. So
Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. But anyway, it means style with ease. It's a combination.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a
yeah.
portmanteau.
And then, actually, you know what? I just thought the most recent beer I had that I really enjoyed was I was at Half Acre this weekend. And they have a little hoppy lager on called Cool Lake.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
That's the most half-acre
excellent
beer name I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
Very on brand.
Yeah, it was a cold IPA, but
Yeah.
just call it hoppy lager or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. It was delicious. It was
Get Jake in
outstanding.
here.
Yeah, right.
Argue for 45 minutes about that one.
Oh boy.
If it walks like a duck.
So I
Call it a mallard.
was at I was in. Have we talked about my California trip?
No.
at
No,
all?
let's
Not
not
at
do
all.
that.
Not do it. Okay, we'll skip it.
Yeah.
We're going to get like a month away from you actually being on this trip before we talk about it. Don't listen
I'm
to him.
just kidding,
It's your
Chris.
show.
Chris, I'm kidding.
I was going to talk about it. I was going to talk about not like, and then I went here, and then I went
Tell
here.
us about the murky IPA.
The murky IPA of Pure Project. Well, here's what I'll say. They love West Coast IPAs out there. The West Coast IPAs out there are also different and better overall, certainly.
Better than Fatheads?
No.
Okay.
But I'm not sure
scared
they
for a
would
second.
consider that almost like a retro West Coast IPA or something. Mm-hmm. It's I didn't have any IPAs.
No onion, no
West
garlic.
Coast IPAs as sweet.
Sure.
Yeah, as sweet or as dark as Fatheads. So yeah. So but even it was very interesting. So tons of West Coast IPA, very dry. So in the Peanut Gallery last week was Garrison Frattoni of Russian River. He just happened to be here, and there was a Maplewood West Coast IPA on the draft board. So after the show, we were all hanging out at the bar, and I was like, "Oh, there's a West Coast IPA. I want to see if he thinks like what I think of this beer." And I said, "Here, what do you think of this beer?" And he smelled it. He's like, "Okay, Citra, clean, pretty clean process, tastes good, nice hoppy beer." And I said, "Would you consider a West Coast IPA?" And he's like, "No."
Did you say why? Or
Way too sweet.
way too sweet?
Way too sweet.
Got it.
Yeah. Not disparaging at all the actual flavor or anything of the beer. Just saying, like, he
His
would
style
not.
guidelines are different than ours.
I mean, he's from Russian River. I say he can definitively answer that question as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But one thing that was interesting that I learned, California, Andy, was way different beer culturally than I was expecting. Like, way different. Have you been out there recently, Ed?
It's like you're going to a tennis court.
How so?
Just in terms of like the people at the breweries, it just seemed like I was at a sporting event, or I could have been in gone to like some premiere for a film. The type of people hanging out just seemed to be unlike Chicagoans.
Okay.
Dedicated.
Just healthy.
I mean, just
They have
hot people? Is that
jobs.
what you're trying to say?
How many?
Just-
They have jobs.
How many cheesy beefs do we think
They have jobs. There's no cheese. You can't get a cheesy beef in Florida.
Just chop it off.
I'm sorry,
Florida.
in California.
California.
But the Brewer Project, I love their beers. I love what they've been doing. I love that they own Murky. I love how they just have gone nuts. I mean,
Yes.
it's exciting to me to see when breweries just go absolutely bonkers with like pushing their beer styles and getting an audience, creating an audience, generating lots of hype, opening up new facilities,
Yes.
digging into styles, inventing styles, right, and just having fun.
Yeah,
They're
they are.
super nice.
They
Super nice
were
people, too.
So they were an outlier in San Diego brewing.
A while ago, yeah. And now they're like the leaders.
Well, but stylistically, they are, I'd say, an outlier there, which is probably why they're doing well.
Because they know what their audience wants.
Because there's not a lot of hazy IPA out there.
Yeah.
They owned.
I don't know. There's
Murky.
a lot of hazy IPA in California. I don't know about that. I mean, if you look at the consumer base, you look at where people want to drink. Every brewery has to have like a couple hazy IPAs. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of West Coast IPAs too, and those are very hazy. But there's a lot of hazy
as a
IPAs in
ratio,
California.
I would say there were probably 4-to-1 non-hazy to hazy that I saw on average. And here I'd say it'd probably be maybe 2-to-2, maybe some breweries.
Interesting. 2-to-2 is an
1-to-1
interesting ratio.
1-to-1. I was thinking if there's 4. I was thinking how many would there be? 2 and 2.
Got it.
2-to-2. Yeah, I never learned how to. Yeah,
Simplify.
Because a lot of these
Kinda
breweries you go to
simplify.
only have 4 taps.
yeah.
I would even say
Yeah.
the other way. I'd say there's more hazy IPAs
I would
on here than
too.
West Coast.
I would too.
I'd say it's like 6
2 and 2
6
to
and
2.
3 or something
2
like
and
that.
2 to
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
We got the 2-to-2 ratio over at Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my point is that
Yeah.
is that we've embraced those styles just like we've embraced anything. Because for me, at least watching pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, every brewery has to cater to everyone now. There's no way around it. Maybe that's everywhere, but there's just so much focus on haze because that's very popular. That's my point. That's not
Yeah.
just anymore.
Oh, I
But
mean,
it's
it was-
interesting for you to hear that. I think. Well, also, just to be clear, you have a lot of selection bias because you were going to go to places that have mostly have West Coast IPAs. That's another one thing.
Okay, so here's where I went. So I went to Pure Project. They had way more hazies than non-hazies, but I went to Pizza Port. I went to AleSmith. I went to Stone. I went to North Park. I went to Mickelhenny. I went to
Green Cheek.
I went to Green Cheek. I went to Rip. I went to Beechwood. I went to this place called Wild Fields. I went to Firestone Walker. I went to Santa Adarius. I went to Alvarado Street. I went to Russian River.
Mad Fritz.
I went to Mad Fritz.
Did you go on a brewery tour, Chris?
No, I just happened to
okay.
just to be at these places. So I went to a lot. I think I'm missing several probably as well. But yeah, I went to a bunch and definitely less hazies. The ratio was less hazy and way more skewed towards West Coast there, which I was more than happy to see. I mean, I'm fine. I was fine with that. Way more at these breweries that I went to, IPAs and lagers as a ratio than here too. I feel like we get a little bit more, but very little, even less than here, like Belgian. Some Belgian. I saw a few, and I did see a couple like pub ales every once in a while, stuff like that. But they love hoppy. North Park. I got, what's it called when they say I got shut down at the bar? What's that called?
Cut off.
Cut off. I got cut off for the first time in my life that I can think of. Yeah. So that was interesting at North Park.
Do you want to talk about it?
I thought the bartender was a subpar bartender, and I might have been saying that a little loudly until his manager came over and said, "I'm not comfortable serving you anymore."
How many beers have you had at that point?
That sounds like every time. That sounds like
Every night Chris goes out.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's happening everywhere.
That's a tale as old as
That sounds
time.
like drinking here. J-Max
I mean,
gets abused.
I'll put it this way: I would definitely not have gotten in a car and driven, but I was okay. I mean, we continued
you were beer
for the
tour
night.
sober.
I was beer tour sober. I mean, I wasn't falling over. I wasn't falling asleep.
Yeah.
I wasn't, anything like that. It was just that I was.
You're being a little too Philly for them. A little too
That's
East Coast.
That's
for
what
them.
somebody in my
That's what Boston Joe
that's
said
what
you were
Boston
being
Joe
too much of a
said to me.
dick. Someone
Yeah.
from Boston said you're being too mean to the West Coast guys.
Well, no, he was just a bad server. I mean, I'm sorry, North Park. Everyone, I heard so many people talking about how amazing their beers were. I wanted to go back. I just didn't get a chance to because I wanted to try all these beers. Well, I wanted to go back at a different time, but there just wasn't enough
with a
time.
mustache or something.
Exactly.
They put your picture up on the door.
Yeah.
They take your
No,
ID.
there was 3 of us, and he would come up and ask one of us for a drink, and what we wanted, and then we would say a beer, and then the next person would say, and I'll have and he would just leave, come back, get the second person, leave, come back, get the third person, and then like a line started forming. It wasn't busy, and I just think he was not very good at his job. And we're like, "What the?
You're
what's
doing
up
it
with
again.
this,
You're gonna
dude?"
get 86 forever from
Right. Well, whatever.
doing on this little regional podcast.
Yeah, but I will say, Mike Check took us all around. The guy
Poured
is
3 beers
awesome.
at a time.
Poured 3 beers at a time at least, and we had a great time at his place. Went up to Mickelhenny. That was definitely a highlight. That's the old Alpine space. Old in the old Alpine brewery, old brew house, old owners, everything. They had really good beer. I didn't appreciate it. I mean, I did. No, I did appreciate it at the time. And when I brought it back here, and then I tasted it a couple days later, and I wasn't just totally soaked with West Coast hops.
Still love it.
Very, very good. No, yeah, I was like, oh boy, this stuff's really good. Beechwood, those guys they made, I mean, their
Perfection.
beer's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're making a beer for us. They're brewing it tomorrow, actually,
Well, that's amazing.
for our 10th anniversary. So that's
Can I get
cool.
some?
Yes, you
All
can.
right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then we can talk about, I mean, we have to have Niall from Mad Fritz on the show because that dude is insane. And I mean it in the best way possible. And he went all out. Went to Tornado. Also had an awkward encounter there where we scared the big burly bouncer away. Literally ran away from us and wouldn't come back because of something I said, which I won't repeat on air.
It's starting to sound like it's a you problem.
Yeah. Well, let's just say I went to my when I came back, I talked to my therapist and was like, "Is it me? Am I like the boomer who like spouts like crazy things and everyone else is like, yee?" And she didn't say no. She didn't say yes, but she didn't either. But I was like, all right, well,
It's a pretty passive indictment from your therapist there.
interesting.
It's going to be okay,
Yeah,
Chris.
thanks,
Everything's
man.
fine.
See, I need you.
Don't let anyone tell you who to be and how to be.
Thank you.
You be you.
Thanks,
We
Ed.
love you for it.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah. You're
Thanks.
welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, in the Tornado where everyone's known to be a dick.
Everyone's pretty hard there.
You were the dickiest dick.
I mean, they didn't. They wilted. They wilted under the pressure pretty quick. Let's just say that.
Did you bring in a bunch
ran away?
Did you bring in a bunch of sausages from next door when you were making?
No.
When you were bringing them down?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's the move.
Yeah.
Handful of sausages in your hand when you get in there, everyone crumbles. Because you got to put a sausage in their mouths.
Well, I
So that wasn't far off from.
right. Not really. No, that's not what it was.
Well, it
Anyway, I had a wonderful
sounds-
time.
Sounds like a great trip.
Yes.
I think it's awesome that you were able to go out there, enjoy the. Was it raining? Was it part of the?
I went to
was-
Trumer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place was cool. Yeah, it was raining. There were a bunch of
During the what
yeah.
was it called? What is it called, Andy? What was the moment called? The river.
Lenine.
The river of the atmospheric
The
river.
the atmospheric or the
Yeah.
cyclone. I forgot what they called it. Yeah, the atmospheric river. Because
Oh, there was something cyclone that
I-
was there. Yeah.
I purchased the house I'm living in, recording from right now in October, and we moved in December, and it decided to rain constantly during all of this and up until a few weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's testing the foundation, the fortitude of our retaining walls on this hillside property. So yes, it is the most rain I've ever seen. And since I've lived in California, which has now been about 15 years, since my girlfriend has seen, and I guess for the last 100 years, since this house was built in 1936, this weather is psychotic. It's ridiculous.
Well, I was with a guy who was a builder, and he was looking at the retaining walls. It's funny, and he was like, "Those aren't retaining walls. They're just kind of like they're there, but they're not.
They ain't retained.
They're not
shit.
true retaining walls in the way that you would think of them being somewhere else." And he was pretty nervous for. We saw a couple washed out roads. Like the roads like right off of where we were when we were in Napa, and they were just the roads were gone. Wow. We're like, whoa, this is like it's like it'd be a 90-degree turn off of what we were on, and we're like 10 feet after the turn, the road has just fallen off, and there's like a caution tape across the street. That's all there was. And we're like, let's get out of this area. Big Sur was, I mean, I think that happens. I think Big Sur does get closed. So that wasn't insane.
Every few years, Big Sur is just inaccessible because we build this, we keep building a road where it disintegrates every 5 years. I don't know. Right.
So we couldn't go there. We found out when we drove up the one and got to the point where it was closed and had to, do a 40-minute backtrack, but a lot of rain. There was some sort of cyclone thing going on in San Francisco when we got there. A lot of rain.
A tornado at Tornado.
Yeah, exactly. My cousins, I have a bunch of cousins who live in San Diego. None of them own a umbrella. They've lived there their entire lives. Don't own an umbrella, and they were freaking out about all the rain.
I don't own an umbrella either, though.
You don't own an umbrella?
No.
There's not one in your house?
My fiance has one.
Oh, so there's not one in your house. Okay. So there was 5 people living in this house, and they didn't have one umbrella. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I hate umbrellas. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Theirs was more for like, why would I have an umbrella? It's rained. It rains
4
one day
times.
a year.
Yeah.
But anyway, very good, very interesting beer scene. One thing about North Park. So listen to this. There was a...
How would you know?
Yeah, right? Well, because I saw the board, and I did get to order this in time. There was a... What do they call it? There was a Mosaic lager. There was a almost traditional Bohemian lager, or Bavarian lager, I think they called it. And almost traditional is their words. There was a West Coast Pilsner. There was a cold IPA. There was an American Pilsner and an Italian Pilsner, all at one place. It's a lot
getting the
very
most out of that yeast pitch.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's visions of the business card scene in American Psycho,
Right.
which I might have alluded to. That like, well,
They're all clear.
are you fucking kidding me?
They're all very clear.
Embryo Citra, Centennial IPA,
Right.
Simcoe, Embryo Citra IPA.
Yes,
Which
right.
modifications do you want?
Right, exactly.
Eggshell.
But yes, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good trip.
It was a good trip. Should
Yeah.
we move on?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Well, before we move on, though, I will say I very much now. It's interesting when I go to Belgium. I'll appreciate how much I like American beer culture, although I'm so happy to be there. And I also realize like what a wonderful beer culture we have here in Chicago. Just like so many breweries, such a wonderful distribution, such great distribution here.
You're a big distro guy. We found out a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I'm officially big. I am Big Distro.
Yeah.
I'm the face of Big Distro.
That's right.
It's basically what it
This
is.
is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we all noticed, Chris,
Yeah.
in our orders.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, Chicago.
Good scene.
Pretty good beer scene. So
Best podcasts, I would say.
best local beer podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good local beer podcasts here. But anyway, there we are. Where should we go to from here, Mike? You talk for a while.
Should we talk about why Bart Watson's upset with our podcast specifically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, should we? Let me look. Let me ask the Fade Master. Should we take a break because we're worried about power outages. No. Okay. We should not take a break. Okay.
Just power through, man. We got a victory party to go tonight.
Hey, man.
You know who's going to win?
Phillies.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the mayor.
Oh, Brandon?
Who's going to win?
He's up right now.
Is
He's
he?
up.
Last time I looked, it was like 50.6 to 49.4.
Yeah, man. What a weird night. What a crazy night. Energy's awesome.
All right.
Let's go.
All right.
I mean, I
All right.
could go get a square or take a break if you want.
Yeah.
Go smoke in the alley or something.
Yeah.
Do a hit.
Yeah. Unlike
Let's take a break.
Let's do some
unlike at
I can go do some drugs.
yeah. Unlike Studio B, you can't just smoke in the studio. So
Yeah. You guys just
all right. We'll
get high and just come back in 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Let's
we'll-
go get high. We'll come back.
in 5 minutes. Okay. We'll be right back.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable today. We're here with Edmar, Jacob Sembrano of Cruz Blanca, and Dr. Lambic himself, Andy Carter. Real doctor, fake stepson. Is that what you said you had?
I think that's
Virtual
what it is.
step-
Virtual
Stepson.
stepson. Real doctor, though.
Real doctor of Lambic.
And we're going to talk a little bit about an article that was in Brewbound recently. The headline was Bart Watson says, "Don't denigrate where consumers are entering craft. Early craft volume data tracking below expectations." That's kind of
And
a
Bart Watson is the chief economist.
chief
of the
economist of the
Brewers
Brewers Association.
Yeah.
Basically the bringer of doom the last couple of years. But that's something of like a little clickbaity of a headline because there is a section where he talks about I hear brewers sometimes say things like, "Oh, that lactose smoothie sour is not a real beer." Watson says, "If I'm a consumer, then I'll say, okay, then I guess I don't like beer." Hopefully people in this room can refocus the energy on, okay, that's not the beer I make, but you like beer. I've got this beer for you. So the thing that grabbed our attention ends up being just kind of a little poll quote that wasn't really
Point of the
the
piece.
point of the piece.
Yeah.
But it does seem a little disingenuous. I don't know a lot of brewers who are actively saying to customers that that's not real beer. Maybe we'll say it on this podcast, but like if someone comes in and says they like that, are you going to be like, "Well, that's not real beer. Get out of my bar"? Like I don't think so.
Right.
So
and I want to get.
Well, if
what
you
do
were
you
at the
think,
bar
Ed?
that Chris was at in California, yeah, they would.
they would cut you off for being
They would cut him
belligerent.
off
If you were
for
Chris,
asking that kind of question.
they would see your picture up on the no-fly board and
Yeah.
kick you off. No flights board for Chris.
Yeah, there's no flight.
This is how we wasted 45 minutes last.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I guess we should talk about that quote then, I guess, a little bit, because it is like the attention kind of grabbing thing of like, is
Wasted,
that...
eh?
No,
Wasted.
it's excellent. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Now I know what to do when
Yeah.
I go to California.
Right.
Is that a sentiment you're seeing across beer, and do you think that's stopping people from entering drinking beer, or is it just something that like the brewers say in the back, and it's not really permeating what breweries are doing or how people are actually entering the beer
I
space?
personally never experienced any, tap room, front of the house people speaking that way to their customers. Brewers, of course, say the most ridiculous shit all the time, and they think they're harder than everyone else on earth. So who really gives a shit what brewers say? My opinion, no offense. But yeah, I think that's just a nice hot take that they wanted to highlight to make you read the piece.
Right, which it worked.
Yeah, it did work, but I think the piece is actually a lot more interesting than a hot take.
Yeah. So mostly,
What did you like about the piece, Ed?
Well, I like the fact that he clarified that in fact craft beer has gone down.
Yeah.
In terms of like the volume of beer sold, and that it went down like at a percent or a point something.
right now it actually says it's up 0.6%. They filled about half the respondents to the 9,500 respondents to the BA's annual survey. And it says that their production is actually going to be up about 0.6%.
But it was down and it's up, but it's not going up as far as.
So it's overall up 0.6. If that didn't include NA breweries, it would be down.
Right. So the thing is, how much of that is NA beer? It would be great to know.
Well, there's another article that talks about Athletic, and Athletic was like up like 100%.
It's going to be the 15th largest craft brewery in America this year,
and
which is out of control.
If you just go from the beginning of the year to now, apparently, it is the 6th largest BA recognized craft brand. Period.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, it's like it's up there with it's like Sierra Nevada, Firestone Walker.
That is
That's
so
a different
beautiful.
article that I don't have up.
That's amazing. That's an incredible testament to like that marketing and and like
it's only behind Sierra Nevada, Samuel Adams, Firestone Walker, Shiner, and Stone, and then after that it's Athletic for as far as beginning of the year 2023 to today in scan data.
What do you think about that? You like that?
That's not real beer.
That's not real beer. If you like that beer, get out of here. Do I like that? Yeah, it's cool. Like
I mean, you like NA beer?
I do like NA beer.
You like Athletic NA beer?
I haven't had much Athletic, to be honest.
Yeah.
I drink a good amount of the NA Guinness, and then I have some friends.
That doesn't count. That's not what we're talking about.
Why?
Why?
Why doesn't that count?
Because it's not a craft. It's not a craft segment.
please.
Yeah, so I like NA beer.
Craft NA. Craft
I
NA.
have some friends that have,
Talk about
have
the
their
craft
own.
beer
Craft, like a
world.
slushy.
I think we have a mutual friend that has an NA brand, Visitor. I drink some Visitor. I actually was drinking some of the test cans of the next version of their beer. They're
Nice.
working on.
That's actually a pretty good beer.
It's a great beer.
Yeah, it doesn't suck at all.
No.
It's great. Yeah. But I guess
Do you like
I
NA
guess-
beers?
Well, I like NA drinks. Period. Like if I were to drink non-alcoholic beverage, it would not be an NA beer.
I'm with you.
So,
I like
like-
NA beverages,
Yeah,
but I don't really like
I
NA
don't,
beer.
I would rather drink something else.
I like your elixirs.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I mean, we make about 15 or 16 regular NA drinks at our brewery right now. But the piece, by reading that piece, it kind of like actually reinforced some of the information I heard a previous Brewbound guest say. Isaac from Octopi. Did anyone listen to that podcast with Isaac on the
Brewbound?
No,
Brewbound
I didn't.
podcast?
No.
Okay, Isaac, right? Why is he on Brewbound? So I listened to it, and it was fascinating. It blew my mind.
Well, Isaac runs Octopi, right?
Yeah, and it's a co-packing facility, right?
Huge.
Making 500,000 barrels a year or something
Yeah,
silly like
it's
that.
it's mind blowing how much stuff he produces.
And the
It's a
breadth
lot
of
of
what they're
non-alcohol.
making.
And-
Beer is probably the smallest percentage of everything.
Exactly.
beverage.
What he said is that maybe like a couple years ago it was like 80-90% beer being made at his facility. Now it's 30%. The rest is NA, seltzer, RTDs, CBD shit, etc.
They have a de-alkalizer, so they're taking the alcohol out of the NA beer and putting it into the seltzers. It's like this genius.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
But the point is, that's what's happening with all these startups like Visitor, is they're just going to a co-packing facility and using these places. They're building brands without breweries,
Right.
right? And that's
Well, it's
the
like
main customers NA
like
stuff.
Well, it's like the Ghost Kitchen model that's now failing, and all the Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff, right? This is a place where you can go make a cheeseburger. Oh, add 3 slices of cheese. Oh, add some Wagyu to that. Okay, cool. Now we got a new brand. It can be stood up in 50 states, and it's already showing that that's like unsustainable. Like Uber
glad
Eats
to
is
hear
like
that.
dumping all that stuff.
I'm glad to
So
hear
it's
that.
like not working because its brands are just brands, right? So if your branding team is amazing,
Like
that's
Athletic.
if your branding team is awesome, and then it goes this, and I've watched this. What I do do microelectronics for a living. You have places that, we'll make our own microchips. All right, let's make a fab. Let's stand up a lab, which is like standing up a brewery. Oh man, this costs a lot of money. All right, make someone else do it. 2 decades later, they're shit at making it. So let's make our own fab. Okay, cool. Let's stand that up. It's just cyclical, right? So it's like if you have to make it good, the only way to make it good is to make it yourself. So in the end, the food
I love that,
is
Andy.
made
I love
yourself. So that's how it is.
I love hearing you say that. But you know what? There are so many brands that are making stuff, co-packing facilities. Now, there's not maybe like 5, 6 years ago, I would have made fun of you and said, these aren't real breweries. These guys are clowns. This is baloney, right? But then you see what's happened. Some of them actually then purchase breweries 6 or 7 years later and actually get into making their own beer, right? Or they just are a co-packing brand, right? I don't know.
I mean, we co-pack. We still have a home base.
But you make your beer.
Yeah.
And you probably brew
Yeah.
with your co-packer, right?
Yeah. I don't think that this model is anything that's foreign to any other industry. Food, frozen food, co-packs. Water is
The worst.
is on fire right now.
Yeah.
Water will continue to be on fire, and everybody's co-packing that because you can't just put water in an aluminum can. Total pasteurizer helps. I mean, that's what you want to do with all of these waters, or stabilizers, whatever. But everybody's co-packing water. you look for. There's not a whole lot of facilities that has the technology. I mean, how's that any different than a non-alcoholic beer or beer? There's such a loyalty to beer that I think it makes people feel a little weird, right? But
right, there kind of is for water too, but it's always kind of been.
And
There's always been a lot of hocus pocus in water.
And when I say water, I just mean like not necessarily like LaCroix, but those like better for yous or just.
No, you're right. The
waters.
whole segment, this kind of like, there's a whole growing segment of non-alcoholic beverages right now. Like the better for you drinks is what you're calling them. I'm trying to think of the term now. It's escaping my head right now. But there is a massive, it's insane how many different drinks are being made right now. Because I've been making them for 4 or 5 years now. I just notice what's happening, and it's just like
walk into a foxtrot.
It's like a golden age.
20 of them.
Yeah. And also it's also just like because of the internet, Instagram, et cetera, you could find a million brands making stuff. It's fascinating.
Well, and you can do direct to consumer for a lot of that stuff too, right?
Which I think Andy would agree is not as a robust a decision or a business model anymore. I think DTC is kind of dying right now.
Well, it's definitely a way to get those brands like off the ground and show some revenue.
So like a visitor, et cetera, could say they have 100 orders shipped, and they made a batch of beer. They made a 30 barrel batch and sold it in 3 months. You really think you can live on that? Can you live on that kind of? It's like a hobbyist thing.
I do. I live on less than that, but
his beer is really expensive.
Yeah, but you're not selling those a whole case for $28 or whatever.
No,
right? I mean you're the old everyone's model, right? Your single bottle, 500 milliliter bottles is like you could live on that. You are,
yeah,
but only you can. Only a couple people can. You can't grow that business using that model,
right?
So it'll be great to see you in 10 years, and you'll still be holding me a 500 milliliter bottle, giving me some weird
for so many
Chardonnay
years, that was
squeezed grape between your toes.
Authentic.
Mixed
that was
with
the Russian River
some
model
white
for
honey.
so many years, right?
Yeah.
Look at Russian River. They had a brew pub, and they had the second facility that only made 2 beers: Pliny the Elder and Damnation. And so it works. If you don't want to grow, then they had to grow because they bought a huge facility and had to grow, right? It's a choice. You can run a successful business. Okay, yes, Russian River is an asterisk because it had so much hype and has still hype, but. You can have a small place and still succeed without growing in the capitalist sense.
Right.
I also wonder if the NA co-packing thing has more legs than a co-packing beer brand, like you were talking about. Where
I think the majority of it's
culture of
NA beer.
But the culture of it isn't so much around like gathering at a pub to drink your NA beers. It's more just like a supplemental thing. That doesn't.
I disagree.
But if Cruz Blanca wants to have a non-alcoholic beverage or Half Acre or whomever, they know they can go to Go
Anywhere.
Brewing in Chicago or outside of Chicago. They can go to Octopi. They can go to a lot of places.
You can go anywhere to make any NA drink you want. You can go to Mars.
Because we wouldn't have the capabilities to do it ourselves. So boom. I mean. It's filling a very specific gap, and it's smart and brilliant.
I think the thing about it is that so we aspirationally say Mars makes beverages for most occasions, right? I think when a person is going to a brew pub, brew pubs can sell alcohol besides beer. Yeah. It's different than a tap room. So one of our strategies, we had to make sure we had all the license to make whatever we could. So that's why we had a distiller's license to make ready-to-drink beverages and sell cocktails using our booze, right? But the point is, I think tap rooms or all establishments need an NA thing that's exciting and not LaCroix and Coke and Pepsi products. So I think there's like a segment, a small niche for these kind of locally made beverages to be placed into any beverage program, right? So you look at Casamara Club out of Detroit, right? They make great kind of like bitter sodas. There's all kinds of great examples of this. So what that piece meant to me was that, well, even as a small guy who doesn't expect to grow massively ever, we never had a plan to just grow. It was just like community jobs, another third place to go to. Maybe we get some extra distro. Maybe we open up another place in a different state or city, and it'd be cool to be able to travel between different places. But what this confirms to me is that beer is flat. Craft beer is basically flat, if not dead. It also confirmed that the Generation Z does not drink as much alcohol, and that you have to provide different options for people. So I'm glad that I pig-headedly forced all my colleagues at Mars to agree with me to make these different beverages we did.
So
Because
this is what it's all about. You being right.
No, but it's
Now
Well, I
the
think-
truth comes out.
it does legitimize. I could show them that piece and go, look, I'm not a complete idiot.
Right, sure.
But the reality is, our beer production has gone down over the past 4 years. I am not growing my beer sales. All right?
Right. Well, the main takeaway I think from this article, also, if you outside of Mars, is that distro is dying.
Well, that's true too.
So that beer is put into distribution is really tough right now.
Well,
but it does say
but-
tap rooms and brew pubs are both expected to record increases, and tap rooms are outpacing even brew pubs. for reasons
Increases over year over year.
year
though.
over year. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know. There are
But that's
less
still
tap
when the-
handles. There's less tap handles in restaurants and bars.
Right. That's what it's saying.
Yeah,
Tap rooms and brew pubs are actually going to make more beer than
Tap
they made
rooms,
last year.
yeah.
I wonder.
Tap
I
room
wonder if
specifically.
that's. I wonder if that's a full. I think 21 was a or 22 was a full year. Was it? Was it a full recovered post COVID? People are out year.
22.
22.
No.
See, right?
No.
So I'm wondering.
It depends
if,
on where
if
you are,
21,
too, here.
Right, where they're
Right.
saying
So
that.
I'm wondering if
Right, but there's
that
still-
has something to do with it.
Right. There's some more outpacing distros like dying more
Well,
than it would have
you
been.
know,
Even just being like year over year, there was more beer because
But Mike,
of COVID and
you
distro.
self-distribute.
Right.
Right.
I self-distribute.
Yeah.
In Illinois, so we've always self-distributed our
Yeah.
products here, and even doing that is very difficult to compete with all the other distributors. But yeah, like we've talked about in the past, there's super big distributors and there's really small guys who have a hard time kind of like filling the pipeline of beer because there's less shelf space, there's less taproom space, less draft opportunities. And
Because
and
it's
the piece-
shrinking because there's more RTD, seltzer,
There's other
NA.
options. Other options.
Well, right. There's other options, and there's the same amount of real estate. So the pie isn't getting bigger; it's just getting sliced into more slices.
Right.
That-
And then we're
that's
competing-
actually part of this article too, right?
Yeah.
Where it says the only ways you're going to grow, or if you would make something that's genuinely, completely unique, and you actually grow a segment completely on your own,
Like
or
Jungle
you're taking it from some other craft brewery
Right.
that you're out competing. with.
Right.
Right. But I mean,
That's literally from the BA saying those are the only ways you're going to grow your distribution right now.
that's a mature or maturing
And
market.
that's another part of this article is where he's like, welcome to a normal market that
Right.
isn't like double-digit growths every year.
Right.
No one expects restaurants to grow at that'd be 20% more restaurants with no closures for 5 straight years.
Right.
Right.
That's a good example.
yeah.
But this also, again, he says distribution will not grow, and he says it still has further to fall before it hits its base. So it's not just the fact that like year over year that like, oh, well, more people were staying home, so more craft beer was going into distro and getting sold at grocery stores and stuff. It's like, he's like, no. Sets overall are shrinking. Craft beer is getting smaller. The way that the BA defines craft beer is going to get even smaller because a lot of those like placements for craft style beers are going to be something else. Another article talking about Voodoo Ranger, which is like,
Mind blowing.
yeah, they're selling more Voodoo Ranger is only 2% less than all of the Blue Moon that was sold last year. So like most of the sets that you're seeing that had like you could have snuck into 5-6 years ago,
Not
there's
there.
not a chance
They're
because
not there.
they're getting smaller and they're getting taken up by things like that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's also the big players getting more savvy to how to work the system and to put how to effectively put their elbows out. And I think that was what the big guys
Right.
weren't sure how to do and did not have the brands to do that with for years. And the little guys could then do it. And as I've and you and I have said probably ad nauseum to people listening, is that was what the big guys, retailers and suppliers and distributors all want, is to control the set and not have as much choice because it's easier for them.
Right.
So now they've got a way to do it. Like they have enough brands. There's less real estate. They're probably like, fine, that's good. Less real estate,
Yeah,
fine,
we're good.
fine with me.
Right.
That's fine with me
'Cause as
because
far as, like,
I'm going to be in it.
Volume production goes, like look at something like Constellations. That other another article we were going to talk about. I'm jumping all over the place, but that facility that New Belgium is buying to sate this Voodoo Ranger demand is from Constellation Brands. Is already ready to make RTDs and other alcoholic, but other like alternative beverages
Beyond
because
beer.
because it's Constellation and they're all set up like that, right? Where it's like, well, if the demand sways, we turn on the RTD lane, then we turn on
Constellation.
So the facility that this is one of the other articles we're going to talk about, but New Belgium is buying a huge facility
Right.
from Constellation.
From Constellation. Okay.
From Constellation.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was
right. And
put out there very clearly.
But part of the reason is like Constellation's beer brands totally failed.
Oh,
All their non-Modelo brands were totally screwed. I mean, they sold Ballast Point for maybe 10% of what they bought it for, maybe 20 if I can't remember it correctly.
I'll tell you one thing. I saw a lot of Pacifico being drank in Southern California, too.
Well, they also
that's Constellation, I believe.
So other brands owned by Constellation, like it's not just like craft beer, like our independent like craft beers now, but Funky Buddha's year round posted all of their brands posted double-digit volumes decrease in chain retail last year. With their Floridian wheat beer tumbling 21%. All of Four Corners, another Constellation brand, year-round beers saw volume declines of at least 33% in 2022.
Right, and they're just going to, I mean, they're okay taking a $950 million write-off. They're cool.
Right.
So, like,
as long as it slowed independent craft beers growth.
Yeah.
So
I mean, isn't this the long game of the Borg, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have been we've been talking about it for years, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? So I think the thing is, what can we do as independent suppliers, producers, stores, retailers? What do you do? How do you reinvigorate the vibe of independent products, facilities, manufacturing as something that people should support? Because there's also a comment in there in that one piece regarding Generation Z, like whatever. I don't want to just support local if someone locally is not treating their workers well,
right? Or
they're not whatever. They don't agree with my politics, etc.
Right.
So like we're resetting the idea of what does it mean to be independent and local. There has to be some
To me, independent and small is more important than local, frankly, and kind of always has been at this shop. Mm-hmm. I have gone all over the country and all over the world and met people that all of us at this table, including you, virtually, Andy, would be like, oh, we have to support these people. Mm-hmm. These are good people making great product, and this needs to be out there. So I just want to put that out there. It's how do we support, just quality, independent manufacturing of these products. I don't know. It's hard to say. It looks like Bart Watson is saying, like, buckle down, and if you gotta make a smoothie, don't hate on this guy because he's got to make a smoothie to keep the lights on or something like that. Is that fair to say?
Maybe. I think that was more of just trying to retain and add drinkers,
right,
and not necessarily hating on another brewery because of it, right? Like he was trying to keep everyone they possibly could in the segment, and by saying like that's not beer, you drive people
right. No, that's better. That's better. It's better said that way. It's like maybe don't hate on it,
right?
Like maybe try to meet them and give them what they want,
right?
And maybe they want finished food products in their beer,
right?
Maybe they want Oreo beer.
Well, what does the doctor say? Because
sure,
when I was in San Diego, I remember a few breweries that I was at have already closed. They probably were purchased and reopened. And, like, what happens to places like Modern Times, right, which was this kind of, like, marketing...
They're still open.
Marketing brewery.
But they're kind of not open. But they're open.
What are people... Do people in California care about beer as much as they used to?
I mean, people care, but I think the thing is that we haven't seen, like, these brands that were supposed to just, collapse, which the internet covered on the collapse. They've not collapsed. We know that the same people aren't working there. I mean, to the consumer, those brands still exist. To the real eggheads like me, my friends that don't work there anymore, right? They went to other breweries. They left the state because they had to find work. I know the employees that have gotten laid off. The stories that we talk about on Full Pint, like these breweries that like essentially fire their entire staff so they don't have to like do severance and then hire them all back and things like this kind of crazy stuff. I mean, it's the employees that's the problem. It's the brands are still there. They're still viable. It's not like all these breweries are just going up and they're just empty. It's not restaurants, put it that way. It's not like restaurants where there's a new restaurant on the next day. It's there's still life in a lot of breweries. They're closing, but they're not closing at quite the clip that you might think.
Like even Ballast Point, we just talked about, like they're there. They're in San Diego.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine. And they're doing great. We had them with 2022. They came to my homebrew festival, the homebrew festival I helped run. They're on all cylinders. They're not stopping and they're not slowing down. Lost Abbey is an example. It's just a brewery that's going to try to do less, right? They're not trying to close, right? They're not saying, pack up and take my toys home. They're saying we need to make less beer. That's the story right now. If you want to keep a brand around, it's not close. It's make less beer. That's what the kind of the take for right now.
I will also say, and this is a little bit morbid, but that is, I think, the reality of how businesses die. Though a lot of them don't get a bolt gun to the head, like a cattle being put out. It's a slow sinking in quicksand, and until they just they are, there's nothing that can be done anymore. But
isn't that okay? I mean,
it is.
Yeah,
it is. No.
That is.
But what I'm saying is necessary. But like the look of a healthy restructuring and somebody going out of business, the optics from the outside may be the same. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I know which one this is, but I'm saying,
I mean, you're talking about specifically about Lost Abbey.
Generally,
like,
just generally this trend
right,
of kind of shrinking back.
So, like, Voodoo Ranger is a deliberately, built thing. It is a very nice package. It fits into C-stores. It fits into retail beautifully. It's priced to sell. Like that is deliberately engineered to sustain and to keep a brewery alive. I don't think that, and it's a good beverage, but I don't think like there's a lot of people that really internally have, craft brewers aren't, they're not thrilled with something like that. They don't see any artistry in it, but I mean, they did what they had to do to stay alive. I don't see a lot wrong with that, but that's going to run its course just like athletics is going to run its course.
Sure.
They spent the last 2 years filling the pipeline with all of their beverages. What's going to happen in 2 more years?
Right. Well, part of that article too is that there's a
it's full, right?
And everyone else wants to make NA. Everyone will be chasing it for a couple of years.
Well, they're so far out ahead of almost everyone else in the NA space that I feel like the first mover advantage might be real for them.
You know what? What's easy for it's also super easy for athletic
White
to
Claw's doing okay.
Boom,
Make real beer.
Yeah.
Well, no, they don't have to do that. Their brand is worth so much. They can, and they have no physical space.
They
can sell the brand, right? They do.
And
they have a brewery.
They have like a 200,000 square foot space.
I thought they were brewing out of
2 breweries.
Octopi.
Athletic?
Yeah.
No, they're huge. They have a huge
they're
facility
probably
in
co-packing
Connecticut.
in several facilities right now.
They have a huge facility in Connecticut, like 200,000 square feet.
In San Diego.
Yeah.
And in San Diego.
Yeah.
Did they build them from the ground up, or they purchased from some
Purchase.
one
San
in-
Diego was purchased, I believe.
The one in Connecticut, I think, was built from the ground up, next to where my parents live.
I saw
What was your point? What were you going to finish up?
I mean, maybe I didn't have necessarily a point, but like, because now I
welcome to the show.
The idea that
staying alive and making less beer, is that so doom and gloom? But I mean, I think if you want to stay alive, then you're gonna like do whatever you have to do in order to do it, and you have to stop like yelling at clouds sometimes and just say, well,
it's just the way it is.
That's kind of my thing, dude. He was looking right at me when he said that.
Old man yells at clouds. That's the name of this podcast.
I don't know.
The subtitle. The Beer Temple podcast, Old Men Yell at Clouds.
Well, I think what Chris was mentioning, though, where he has brands and businesses and manufacturers that he supports all over the country and the world, is really one strategy, this kind of network of people who stick together and work together. That's enough. That's what keeps people alive. That's what keeps most businesses alive, right?
Right. I think there's also, to be in an industry where most of us started in it when if you weren't doubling your production every year, you were doing something wrong. and that kind of like sets up this like standard that like even if a little ebb backwards is like the end of the world for everyone, and that's probably not the truth.
I never worked in that industry. I never was in that world.
Come on,
no,
Mars.
We don't double our production every year.
When you first started, how much did you make your first year?
Oh, I guess when we first started, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said we all started when we were all doubling our production
I guess
every
you're right.
year.
In terms of like a small, very nano brewery, but that's not much. It's bullshit volume. It slowly reaches its peak.
Doesn't feel like that to you when you're doing it, though, right? And you can go home and tell your parents at Thanksgiving that, like, oh yeah, I'm working for this brewery that's doubling its production every year. We're like, oh, it's growing 100%. And then when you're like, oh yeah, we're down, we're only growing 3% this year, or we're down 2% during a global pandemic. We're down 6% during a time when no one can go to a bar where we sell most of our volume.
Yeah.
That like maybe we just need to recalibrate. Like, what does it look like to have a successful business in 2023 as a brewery?
You throughout it all, if just staying open, staying alive, taking care of everyone who works there, giving people what they deserve is the most important thing you could do for any business.
Yeah.
But I feel very grateful and lucky to have survived the pandemic. I'm delighted that we're still doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I mean, hell, I had to spend a ton of money to open up our new brewery. Would I have done it if the pandemic happened prior to that? No.
Yeah.
But you have all these, and all of us who are in the industry, especially breweries where you're located, you don't own your building. You got a lease there that is out of control.
Yeah, we'll be when we.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll be in a
there
couple
are
of years.
so many breweries that have really crazy leases, and it's scary how much people have to pay to keep their facility open. It's nuts.
I mean, just since we opened like 3.5-ish years ago, and we would look at like a reasonable expectation of what to pay in a place, and it is, you know, it's
double.
Talk
about doubling and tripling every year.
Maybe not double, but it's gone up so significantly for the same spaces.
Yeah.
Right? For the same clear span 5,000 square foot building is like at least 50% more in rent, and there's been nothing added to the building. It's just like, it's more expensive now.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah, and it's just like it's really frustrating when you see the same building from 4 years ago that no one has been in, and now the rent's higher, and you're like, how are you like, what are you doing? You're like just
which is also very bizarre when we live in this post-pandemic world where tons of office space is still available.
Right.
You don't have full occupancy in downtown in terms of amount of workers there. Yet the prices still increase on these spaces, these retail spaces, right, or commercial spaces. It is very baffling.
It doesn't make any sense to me, but I know nothing about real estate.
It all baffles me. It all freaks me out. Like with this, the bailing out of like Silicon Valley Bank and like just very quickly deciding to bail out the richest assholes on earth.
Right.
When you can't even give $50 billion for people to forgive their school debt. I mean, these decisions that are made by whatever these larger monopolistic forces are, whether it's within the banking industry or the Borg, AB InBev, affect us all, right? And it's really disturbing.
Right. To tie it back to this article, an example of that is that one of the two opportunities for growth that Bart Watson, the guy at the Brewers Association,
the seer of the craft brewing world,
he says, the convenience store channel and single-serve offerings, particularly in the higher ABV offerings such as double IPAs.
Isn't that what?
Which there's
Voodoo Rangers
there's 9,500 breweries that responded to his like, how much beer did we make last year? Right, and what percentage of those actually have access to any C-store placements? It's like that's not real.
Yeah, I know.
And you know who's taking that up? It's no one's going to get in that because it's all going to be Voodoo Ranger 19.2s. Like.
And then AB is going to have their version of it, and those are who's going to be competing with it.
Right.
I mean, the smallest size brewery you'll see effectively trying to go for that space is someone like a Three Floyds coming out with Zombie Ice, which I just learned about last week on the Zombie Dust Radio.
The Brewers Association, I have a lot of opinions about, but they almost put these, they almost set small breweries up for failure by thinking that they can all have a piece of that pie, which is just not true.
Right.
The illusion.
Right. Like I'm going to walk into the 7-Eleven by my house and be like, hey, can I put a 500 milliliter bottle of $9 Saison in there?
Canning lines are now having the capacity to package 19.2s or whatever. So all right, so now we're a brewery. We can package 19.2s. Does that mean we can be in C stores because there's so much volume? Absolutely not.
Right.
There's absolutely no way.
You got to pay your dues
Unless
to
your
get that.
auntie owns one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Sounds great being
so,
in 7-Elevens, doesn't it?
So when the economist for the supposed group that represents us, the small brewer, is saying compete at the
Macro level,
the Clamato, try to slide your beer into the Clamato section of the.
And it has to be $3.
Right. It's like, what are you talking about?
And just to make it
that's how
little
big beer
bit
we know big beer
difference.
won. That's the only avenue that he's giving you to be like, you can grow if you do this one thing.
Well, but here's the thing that, and let me finish because the first part of the thought may not make sense, but it's like historically breweries were able to get into maybe not 7-Eleven, but pretty close to it, maybe even 7-Eleven.
CVS probably.
Maybe by starting out with their packaged product, their 6-packs, stuff like that, and then kind of getting a local following. Maybe it gets picked up by a local store group.
Oh, wow. The New York Times says Brandon Johnson was elected mayor.
Yeah, he won.
Breaking news.
Sorry, Chris. We're breaking your thought.
It's okay. And you could kind of organically grow and get into some of these higher volume spaces. The 19.2 is a very specific space. It is a often higher alcohol, low cost for the consumer product that is meant to be very, very fast nickels.
Right.
Like you just have to move huge volume to kind of realize that money. You have to already be flying at scale, and you can't just be in one store. Like it's not that kind of product.
Right.
It's completely different to other ways of entry. It would be like saying craft breweries need to be in the light lager 30-pack brick game to get going. And
that was almost a thing for a while, right? Where it's like, 15 packs, we're halfway there, like.
Right.
And it's just like it speaks to this, like, I don't know if it's a bifurcation or what it is, but it's these different strata of breweries.
It's stratification. Same thing with slushies.
Right.
I mean,
like maybe
saying
Rev
it's
can
not
pull
beer.
that off around here. They're like the only one, maybe.
That
can do 19.2s.
Oh,
like,
19.2s. Yeah.
Thinker's doing Daisy in 19.2s. Those are.
Is it Rev doing 19.2s?
But I don't think. But Daisy 19.2s
they
aren't really what people want in a 19.2. People want 8%.
They
want
zombie
ice.
They want
zombie ice.
Well, they want everyone wants zombie ice, but they want what is it, neon bear hug, which is an 8% weird IPA with different fruits in it that costs $3, and so it's like,
which is impossible to make.
And guess who makes it? The Borg. The Borg makes it.
The Borg makes it.
Right, and so the fact that this is a very charged word, but ghettoized, craft beer's been ghettoized into this 19.2 section of the cold box.
It's not. This is just another example of a lame suggestion to people within the industry. You just got to do your thing, work with your community. If you have a tap room, that's great. Do good programming there, respond to your customer base, give them the weird slushy, whatever the heck they want, drink, whatever they want, make one for them.
I think what Bart Watson is seeing is the avenues of growth and where he sees growth continuing and saying that's where it's going to be, not being and not wanting, even though he knows. I mean, he's a very smart guy. Be like, and you guys have no chance.
Right, there's no shot.
No chance.
He still needs a job.
Playing that.
Right.
So I mean, that's all he's saying. I mean, it's
the irony of this being at the main craft brewers conference, so like the most bespoke seeming state in the union.
Yeah,
him being like, well, you guys got to put slushy sours in 19.2 ounce cans at 7-Elevens if you want to have any shot. It's just hilarious.
I will say, so now let me be the hater. Let me be
yourself, Chris.
Let me be kicked out of North Park, Chris.
Be you.
Okay, so. Both sides I know they're both just elements of what he's saying. I agree with the thrust of what this guy is saying. I think directionally he's absolutely right. You want to court customers and new customers and always. And there is growth in this low cost, high, 19.2 can, in C stores and stuff like that. But like screw both those things are ridiculous for most people for more than one reason. One, we just said about the C stores and the stovepipe cans. Two, the slushy IPAs, like, yeah, fine. Some people can make them, and if people want to go to 450 North, fine. Like, I can still clown on 450 North for being garbage stuff because guess what? It is. So is a lot of energy drinks. So is a lot of other stuff. But it's like, am I going to, like, hate on people, like, genuinely? No, I don't care enough about it to do it. But, like, for me to be like, you know what? I should really start courting new drinkers, and we have to bring in some slushies, and we really have to treat it as, like, it is maybe a good entry point. That is such bogus BS.
Yeah.
That if that's not a beer, then I guess I don't like beer. Well, then first of all, I guess you don't, and second of all, that conversation will never happen because the person who likes that is never going to be somewhere with a bunch of brewers talking to each other about it. Those circles just will never meet.
Right. It's
insane.
two eyeballs in a Venn diagram.
Now, someone who loves 500 mils of Saison may like that type of drinker may actually be around makers or something like they care enough.
Right.
But like people who like the slushy stuff will never be there, and guess what? They don't give a shit. They just want to drink an alcoholic Slurpee, which is like fine. Then drink that. But like to say like you don't want to alienate them because you know what? They're going to start drinking mixed fermentation Saisons maybe. Maybe. I mean, that's like those.
I can tell you they're not going to start doing that.
That's like
no
the
one
pundits.
Starts doing that.
That's like the pundits who are always like, you really are alienating those, right-leaning centrists, and if you just go right a little bit, maybe they'll vote left or whatever. Or
meet them where they are is always.
Yeah, it's like
is always
it's
a very dangerous thing. Like very context dependent.
It's like ridiculous. So like. I think everybody knows what he was saying. Like, yeah, Voodoo Ranger is killing it. It was my beer of the year last year.
Yeah.
Because it's the most delicious beer I love.
Yes. I thought it was Kicking Julius.
Oh, I do love that one too. No, I mean, everyone knows that beer is killing it and that everybody is following that beer. The big boys are.
Yeah, because we can't follow that beer.
Yeah, and everyone knows that
that beer's following what Mars was doing 5 years ago.
Pardon?
Right? That beer, like Voodoo Ranger, is following what most breweries that we are aware of or people that we know work at was doing 4 or 5 years ago.
What?
Voodoo Ranger, like the fact that that's so ascendant and popular is, and like the brand extensions and adding fruit to the to an IPA.
Oh, right,
That's what craft brewers that exist on our level were doing
that,
way before.
And
that's a trailing edge technology,
dude. That is and the first person who talked to me about it was Nostra Douglas.
Yeah,
it's a alcohol per dollar play. That's all that is.
Right.
And if you can also make it extra fruity, all the better. But if you can't, that's fine too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Steel Reserve doesn't need to be fruity. It still sells.
When you see Steel Reserve having their slushy beer,
I want it to be.
I mean, it might be
lactose
for
Steel
who
Reserve.
knows? I mean, maybe.
Well, you can do it now. You have Chug Ice.
Right.
Fruited ice. Is how you want us to make?
Fruited Chug Ice.
Yeah.
My only next move is to make little paper bags for these cans with the Chug Ice stamp on it. That's my next. That's my next big move.
You know who did that?
Dogfish Head.
Like 20 years ago.
Well, with a bottle.
Liqueur du Malt.
Yeah, with the bottle. Yeah,
They
it's
did
beautiful.
They did it in 40s.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Liqueur
Everyone
du
always
Malt.
asks, like,
that's
why
a
don't
great
you do
name
40?
too.
People are like, why don't you do 40-ounce bottles? I'm like, who are you? Do you even know how much a bottling machine costs? And who makes 40-ounce bottles
Do you gotta
that I
source
can purchase?
40s?
Like, what is going on with people?
Sourcing 40s.
Like, who do you
is
think
hard.
I am? Like, Mars, some giant corp? You should
Yeah.
just put it in 40s. like everyone else does.
I think there's also this points to like the reality that a lot of breweries,
Wide-mouth grenades.
A lot of breweries started off to be creative projects for people, right?
Yeah.
And then they took on loans that they shouldn't have taken on because thought they were going to be a 15,000 barrel a year brewery, and now those are the people who really do. If they want to keep that going, they probably do.
They probably
need
needed 40 ounce bottle.
Well, they probably
Yeah.
need to make all the things that will just get people in the door because they have a
Yeah.
loan to repay and they
Yeah.
have a mortgage they want to keep paying, right?
Yep.
So like,
Can I say? Oh, sorry.
keep going? I was done.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So here's something I saw in Paso Robles,
Back in
California.
California again.
But it ties into it.
While I was getting kicked
Okay,
out
go
of
ahead, go ahead.
Firestone Walker.
I forgot. I was kicked out of another place too, actually. It was in Paso Robles. So very sleepy town. Didn't realize how small of a town that was. But there was this place that a few people referred me to called Wild Seeds. And they had Wild Fields.
Seeds with a Z.
Yeah, and great beer. Some of the better beer I had in California. Also, the only brew pub I went to that had a hand pull. Really nice stout
They have
they
a
had
mild
on
on
it.
there? Oh, just a stout.
That
Did you
that dry
stain your
Irish
pants,
that they
Chris?
did put mint
What?
in it, and I was like, ugh.
Sellouts.
But then
they
I
were
had
trying to
it-
meet people where they
It was
are.
very
Their
subtle.
hand
It was
pulls.
very subtle. It was actually very good. Well done. So a bunch of different styles of beer, really well done. But and this is a theme that I saw a lot in California. It was in a shopping center. It shared its bathroom with like a kids like karate school. There was like a
drunk
Bank
and
of
beat up some
America. Like
Did
right
you get
next
drunk
to
and
it.
beat up kids?
I did.
Nice.
That's why I was detained for a little bit. Didn't quite make it back. I said I was delayed. It was more detained.
Detained.
No.
Semantics.
Yeah, but the real thing is when I walked in and I was like, "Oh, this is the place that like independently different people were saying, you know what? If you're in the area, check this place out. This guy was at this brewery and that brewery." And I walk in, and it was like some sort of combination of like a Dave and Buster's and like a Chuck E. Cheese, more like a Dave and Buster's, but definitely a little kiddie as well. So it was a long.
They have animatronic animals.
Well, no, there wasn't that, but it was like imagine a long rectangle and 2/3 with like a line going down the long way, like with 1/3 of it on one side and 2/3 on the other of the space. 1/3 was the brewery and it was a bar and they had a couple booths. The other side was all like arcade games, big arcade games. And I mean like LEDs flashing that are changing rainbow colors, like the snowmobile machines where you're like sitting on it, big like these weird little bowling things, like crazy. Like tables that were 25 feet long with there was a table like that had the little paper birthday hats all lined up. So there was going to be a kid's birthday there.
At this brew pub?
At the brew pub.
That rocks.
So I was thinking, I mean, the atmosphere was, and guys at Wild Fields, you made really good beer. Like you did make better beer than a lot of other places I went to.
You want to name
The
them off
atmosphere
again?
was
Name
like,
all the places they made better beer.
Insane.
Well,
But I thought these people are doing it because they have to. Like,
Sure.
This is what they have to do to keep the lights on. They have to have the snowmobile arcade game and a 30-person child's birthday party at this brew pub.
Well, just as like a thought
That's kind of
experiment,
a fun guy.
what would you rather have a brewery do, right? Would you rather have a brewery that's kind of struggling to get people to come in, add a bunch of video games like that,
Yeah.
and like have this like spectacle of
Yeah.
light on one side,
Yeah.
while making all the beers they still believe in,
Right.
that are like creatively driven?
Are you-
and all that
are you
stuff?
talking
Or
about Mars?
Would they
Are you
rather
talking about Mars?
Yeah. Or would you rather have them not put all those arcade games in, leave those seats, and
Yeah.
then turn it into 50% slushy beers that the brewer doesn't really want to make?
Right.
Like if those are the two,
Or go
if,
out of business.
If theoretically, and then it's not apples to apples, but if those were your two options of
first.
how to get people to come in, I would rather
first.
have the first one.
Yeah.
If it meant you could still have your hand pull of, because I also think that like if I walk into a brewery that has a bunch of styles of beer on that I don't particularly care to drink, and then they also have like a Pilsner and a West Coast IPA and a handful mint stout, I'm going to assume those are bad, right? If I walk into a place that is a Chuck E. Cheese that has all these, like, has a Czech dark lager and, like, all the things that are, like, signaling to me that it's like, oh, we're at one of those breweries, I'll try those beers. And I'll probably enjoy them better just in the context of it.
We stuck around for multiple beers. After we walked in there, we're like, what the hell is going on here?
Do you remember the Answer in Richmond, Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of feels that way. It's like that place is a college bar. It's not very impressive, but they've got some pretty contemporary beers on their draft list.
Right.
And that's always kind of like, well, the place came first. The beer was a much more recent evolution of what that place was, but it still looks the same. And maybe they came about that in a little bit of a different way, but it's certainly you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think that was exactly their situation, but
true.
Pretty
right. No, but I'm with you, Mike. I mean, I wasn't.
I wasn't sure if that was where you were going or not, but it seemed
no.
like
I mean, I wasn't. I certainly wasn't disparaging it. It wasn't the worst brewery that I went to. It wasn't the worst brewery experience I went to. There was one in San Diego that was not good. It was like a little place, also in a strip mall. I forget what it was called. We went there because it was close to a place that we tried to go to that wasn't open, and it was not good beer. But that was the only place that was not making good beer that we went to. Most of the other places, it was more like a vibes thing, which I think has been a problem for tap rooms generally. They're just not as good as, like, I don't know. Tap rooms still just, for the most part, are exceptions. Mickle-Henny, awesome vibe. But they're just not. I don't know why they're just not as good. And hey, I'm okay with that.
When you're the hottest thing in town for like 5 straight years, you don't develop customer service the same way as if you like need to have people have a great experience every time, right? I
guess. I mean, customer service at Tornado sucked, but
that's kind of their shtick.
I don't. It wasn't that dude. Ed DeBevics has a shtick of bad service. Tornado, it's not a shtick.
Oh yeah, Ed DeBevics is a show. Tornado is the reality.
Right. But like people walking in aren't like, watch this. They're going to be surly and give me bad service. Like people
literally
you
walk in there. I want the cask beer. Takes too long to pour. Order something else.
Well, that's funny you should say that because I ordered the beer that was on cask, something from Moonlight. I'll have this one, and he's like, his answer was, so on today how it's going to come out on a day like today, or like something like that. That's all he said, and I said, huh? Oh, that it's on cask. And as soon as I said that, he's like, all right, and then he walked away. And I was like, that's not how you tell someone that,
sure,
dickhead.
Right.
Like...
and then you got kicked out of Tornado.
You just ordered a well-done
Going around
steak.
calling everyone in California
Right.
dickheads.
Who I am.
Right. But anyway, so like that was like, and then we asked somebody like, oh, do you have Trillium on a lot? Because Boston Joe is from Canton. Is counter to his name, Boston Joe. He's actually from...
Don't reveal it. Don't reveal this.
Don't dox
on the air.
You're doxing Boston Joe.
But the guy at Tornado was like, what? And he was like, Trillium, do you have it on often? I've never seen it on draft before. Now, Trillium does get out, but in Boston, it doesn't get out at all except to Trillium. And the guy at Tornado was like, what? Trillium, huh? And he's like, the beer you're pouring, that one right there. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And just like walked away. I was like, cool service, bro. Wow. You're like, because I was telling those guys, the 2 people I was with, like, this is probably like top 2 in the country. I was like, I'd say it's probably Monks in this place, man. And then we go there.
Then you go to a lot of those places and you get really disappointed.
A lot of it could be staff turnover, Chris. Could be staff turnover.
Yeah.
Could be new kids working. They don't know.
These were old timers, man. Whatever. My point being, like, I'll still say this: the vibe at Tornado still destroyed pretty much every other place.
Yeah.
That's what really
You
where
like
I was
sticky
going.
floors, and you like having your pants wet. I know.
Yeah. No, I like Torn Eye. We went 3 times.
what?
We went 3 times.
You heard me.
But I would still say, like, the beer for me is I'd rather have it be a Chuck E. Cheese with awesome beer than an authentic pub with
Garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Now, if it's an amazing authentic pub, like you were saying with you always have this kind of like these scales going. Like, is it what's in the glass, or is it what's the thing that you say? It's like, is it what's in the glass, or is it the intent, or like the origin or something? And it's like, well, they both matter, right?
Right.
Like, if AB makes the best stuff in the glass, it's good, but it's still an AB good, you know?
Sure.
So I think it's both. It's the place and the juice, but, ideally you can get them both, but I don't know. Worst comes to worst, I'll take a sweet-ass handful at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Our favorite places are the ones that are able to do both and figure out how to make that work, right?
Yeah.
Like, just do authentically good beer, whether it's a brewery or or like a pub or whatever. It's like they do both really.
And then
well.
you get like Koonin, which is like a crazy brew pub in a in a hardware store.
In a suburb of
That's
Detroit.
kind of incredible.
Yeah, but it works.
I love it.
Because it's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it.
I think we also specifically like things that seem to arise naturally, right? Not things that are like too planned. There's got to be some planning, right? But things that like arise out of like, well, they were making good beer, so people just started showing up in the back of the hardware store.
Right.
Like, that's the vibe that like you and I maybe specifically are always kind of seeking out of, like, how did this thing work? Oh, it's just because like it's true and honest and like, genuine.
I have a quick question if we want to just move on
nothing to do with the article.
a little bit.
Yeah.
No, it is. So New Belgium buys a Constellation facility to make Voodoo Ranger.
They didn't say it was explicitly to make Voodoo Ranger. That was just
that was the first thing I was going to ask.
Yeah, I don't think they publicly were like, well, we're just going to pump Voodoo Ranger out of this, but all implication is that it will. Voodoo Ranger is like 80-something% of what they make.
Right.
So it will probably be just different versions of Voodoo Ranger.
I mean, we were talking about it. I mean, the time when it becomes when New Belgium gets spun off and the company sells off New Belgium, and because it's really, we're now Voodoo Ranger, you can have this vestigial tale called New Belgium if you want it. But I mean, we're getting a step closer to that. It's going to happen. These things are just going to be brands that get traded and moved around, especially if it's like you can have the new Constellation facility we bought too, or we're getting made at Octopi. So like we'll just hand the contract to you. I mean, it's getting closer to that, right? Like, what's the difference?
It said there also had a F&B brand that they were going to start doing. So
well, they already have a couple of them apparently,
like a lemon brand.
And they're going to make a
flavor malt beverage.
They're going to make a twisted tea. Yeah. But so like
which is hilarious because those numbers are hurting right now.
Well, there's one that's like killing it, and it's down, but it's only because they replaced it in production with Truly. But 80% of all of New Belgium's production is some sort of Voodoo brand. 13% is Fat Tire, 1.6 is Tripel, 1% is Mountain Time, and 4% is all other beers. That's just their beers. But in this article, they talked about one of their FMBs that actually is a larger, like twice the percentage of what the Tripel is. So
a little over 3.
Right. So they make a couple other things. So like they basically it's Voodoo Ranger Brewing Company already, but.
Makes
sense.
sense.
You said 80% was Voodoo?
80%. I think it's actually like 80 to 83.
Wow. Man, when I first saw that ad campaign 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, this looks terrible. This is not going to go anywhere.
Done.
Yeah.
But that was also when New Belgium was at its bottom when it was that. It was like so irrelevant. Everyone's like, they've lost their way.
Skeletons, what?
Right.
With skeletons, cool hats on.
Skeletons with a forest ranger's hat
Nikes
on.
and stuff.
I'll never forget because I was still in my like internet dating app days, and you're swiping, and then all of a sudden it doesn't look like an ad because it's made to look like a
Profile.
It was a profile, and it was the Voodoo Ranger skeleton.
Ah.
And it was like, I still have never had it just because of how much that creeped me out. And I was like, this is like invasive and a place where I don't want to see ads at all, but I know you have to see ads, but I don't want to see one that's like pretending to be a profile of like a dead.
Want to bone down?
Yeah, right. It was something like that.
Ever boned? Want to bone?
It was the skeleton like laying on its like side with its like hand propped under its head. Like it was. It was.
I thought it was just like literally the skeleton from the logo. It was in a.
No, it was like
It was like on a lounge. It was on a chaise lounge.
Essentially, and so it would set up to have like pictures,
amazing.
Like pictures that it would
Paint me.
pictures
Like
that
one
were
of your
that were
Paint me,
like
Jack.
you would see in a dating profile. And so like one of them was holding a skeleton of a fish because
Right.
like
I'm on
everyone
a
on
jet
the internet
ski,
says
right.
yes. And so it was like this is just so not what I want at all. And so I still have never had a Voodoo Ranger product and will never have a Voodoo Ranger product.
Ah. No.
Scarred me.
I will make sure you have one of them.
It also didn't match with
maybe.
it, so
I've
that's
had
probably
them.
why.
I don't remember the last time.
I swiped right, but it didn't swipe right on me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
What if you had? Can you? I don't know.
I think I immediately deleted the app.
He hates Halloween too. It's a skeleton thing. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not the Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah,
I get it.
Don't like the Karate Kid.
You don't like spooks and ghouls.
Yeah,
Got it.
I don't really, but the way you said that was pretty great. Hilarious.
Oh boy. So we've got Voodoo Ranger Brewing Company, and I mean, Tripel is 1.6%. So that's somebody's baby, probably. You know, it's like we're still New Belgium. We have to make a Belgian beer. You know, it's probably one of those things.
Yeah.
And then that person will retire and get a gold pen, and then they won't make that anymore. And it's fine. I mean, that's okay. Frankly, as long as that fooder program is still around, I think that's, to me, the most important thing that's still going on at that brewery. And if they do spin, I think spinning that off would be a good thing. I would like to see the other part of it get into new hands and see if somebody can do something with it who has the eye on that prize maybe or wants to reinvigorate that side of things. Because right now the focus is on Voodoo Ranger, understandably. They're killing it.
Have the Ranger pay for that, Chris.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, because they're owned by Kieran now. So
Because
why would
they
the
don't-
Ranger?
yeah,
why would the
right.
Ranger pay for something that's
They
going
don't
to make
want
them
to.
more money?
Spin it off and let somebody else.
They're going to let the Ranger pay for
Try to
more.
do
Pay
it,
for more
you know?
Rangers.
That's a good idea.
maybe.
Because they've got so
I'll
much
speak to
time
my friends at Kieran and let them know that that's a fantastic idea.
to sell it to you.
They were taking
no, to sell it to someone else.
Oh,
I would ruin it.
okay.
Yeah.
They were taking that wild beer and blending it with
Yeah.
clean beer IPA and making an IPA, sour
Yeah.
IPA.
That's actually one of the larger brands they have. It's in like that 0.5% of what they make.
Oh, really? It's below
Which
triple?
is more than
Yeah.
every other brewery in America makes.
That one with all that fooder beer?
Dominica or
Yeah.
what is that?
That
You gotta
one.
remember, their 0.5% is half of the craft breweries in America.
It's larger than most.
Do you know what I mean?
It's larger than half the craft.
Yeah,
So
let's
You
remember
still
that.
there,
they
Andy?
said that they
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Well, they sold 25,000 barrels of Fruit Smash, which is their FMB,
Yeah.
which was 4% of their would have been 4% of their beer sales.
Right.
So
Well,
they sold 657,798 barrels of Voodoo Ranger beers last year.
I don't want this episode to go down as being titled Voodoo Rangers.
Swipe right.
Mighty
Yeah.
Morphin Voodoo Rangers.
Yeah. we need to end this with something a little bit more exciting.
all right,
and
go.
hot.
Won't we?
Let's just call it. Let's go. Let's
All
go
right.
for it. What's in the Google Doc? What's next?
It's all downers.
It's all downers.
All right, let's just end.
Yeah,
we
but
could
we're
just
gonna have-
let's just end it there.
NA
We'll say
beers?
we'll say
We already
hey.
kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
covered that, I guess.
There's one about NA beers if you want to talk about those a little bit.
Well, they're up. I mean, they're huge.
They're crushing
But
it.
I think we should. We should wrap it up. I think we've been going
We're
for.
gonna wrap it up.
we're going, but I think what we
I think
can
we should
do
give
is
Andy 25 minutes of uninterrupted
I
platform to say whatever he
too.
wanted, seeing as we talked over him most of the time.
The most dangerous thing you can do is give me 25 minutes of uninterrupted airtime. No.
All right, that's what the show's all about. Go, baby.
but
Okay, no.
yeah, I was going to talk over him.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to talk over me in that case. Yeah, mute all the mics, Serge. Okay, yeah, no, it's fine.
But we can go around, and if there's anything else that anyone would like to say, we can certainly go there. Should I start? I'll start.
It's your show, baby.
All right. Well, our show. May 7th,
The Beer Temple and Mike.
10th anniversary party is going down. No tickets required. I'm getting asked that a lot, so just I'm very excited about that. I don't usually plug events that we do here actually prior to the event.
It's a big deal. You might want to do RSVP so you can actually get into the lot, Chris. It's going to be packed.
Yeah, the lot's going to be packed.
Yeah. So
Andy's coming.
Beechwood is making a beer for us. And Perennial's making a beer for us. Half Acre's doing a beer. There's some talk of Mars doing something. We'll
probably
see.
Won't happen.
Okay, well, last I heard.
Well, yeah, you never know.
Okay, well, last I heard.
All right,
I'll dig out the last 4
a few
bottles.
other places I heard as well.
Good.
So
I'll dig out the last 4 bottles of Methode Dust I think I have kicking around somewhere.
we'll pour those.
It's going to be so crispy.
Yeah.
So crispy, so scented to
That's exciting, though, Chris. It's a big deal.
It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how about you, Ed? You got anything you want to say?
Well, I want to.
You got your camera up. You're just taking a picture of the ground.
Oops, I'm just. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for having me on, and I'm really excited to commemorate this show and some sort of digital documentation as being the night that Chicago picked a progressive mayoral candidate for the first time in probably 40 years. So I think it'll be exciting to see if there are possibilities for another world here, at least in our locale. So I'm thrilled about that. I'd also like to maybe show an event on April 23rd, a Sunday. We're doing the Dank Magic Market Fest at Mars. It's a celebration of hops and hemp, so I'm sure you know what that means.
Terpenes.
There's some involved, but there's hemp companies, hemp brands will be there alongside some of the same brands that are pouring at your event, Chris. Half Acre, Phase 3, even your alma mater, Pipeworks, 18th Street, are bringing in all their hoppy jams, and then there's some hempy drinks as well.
And what day is this?
And hempy products.
Happy drinks.
Hempy products, April 23rd.
Cool.
And Chris, you'll be delighted to know that on May 13th
is April 20th.
Is burger time.
Like the video game.
A hamburger competition. Yeah.
I'm fun.
I'm excited about that.
I'm excited. That sounds fun. I'm not fun.
You don't like burgers?
No, I do. I'm excited.
I know you do.
I like burgers.
We love burgers.
Burger time.
Yeah.
Andy, how about you? Anything?
Oh yeah, I mean we got a couple. If you want to find other places to talk about beer, Full Pint Podcast, that's one I'm on. But I would say the biggest thing for me is in about a month we have the Southern California Homebrewers Festival that's coming up May 5th, May 6th down in Temecula, California. 30th.
It's a big one. You organized that, right?
Yeah. I used to be the president. Now I'm just the treasurer, but also a member. And it's a big event. It started way back when with Vinny Schillerzo and his family, and we have a lot of lineage there. But 8 pro breweries, 40 plus homebrew clubs, bands, speakers, raffle. It's going to be a show. May 5th, May 6th.
Sounds great. Fun. That's awesome. That does sound very exciting. I think that's really cool. I wish Illinois had something like that. That'd be really cool. Jacob.
Chaos.
Yeah. Well, that's like the chaos.
Just their club.
Like all the clubs come together. That'd be really cool.
We did the Homebrewers Ball back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Anyways, not on that scale.
60s. How old are you?
I'm like 97 now.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That was in his prime.
Yeah. Woo.
Those hemp drinks
Feeling
keeping you young.
Right.
You just bathe in it.
That was your second family or your first family?
Sixth.
Okay, that was your sixth. You're in your 17th now. Jesus.
It's hard to keep
forgot
track.
you had that. You were a rover.
I had
You were a rover.
Remember that decade where every year just.
Yeah. New family.
Yeah.
Putting up numbers.
A lot of kids, a lot
Right.
of great grandkids too.
It's the Steph Curry of families.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting up threes.
Jacob?
Let's see.
How many families?
Not a whole lot to report. Just
Yeah, what do you mean? You have a whole new lineup of beers coming
Oh yeah,
out.
I mean, drink them all so we can brew it and make them better. That's some of these are quite new to the portfolio, so we just want to keep
Drink
dialing
what?
them in.
Drink what? What
Super
beer?
Rica, IPA, Floridita, Mexico's. We've got that almost dialed in. Floridita,
This is great.
Cruz,
Yeah. Mexico Calling's great.
Chelada, pretty good beer.
Mexico Calling is great.
Still needs a little bit of tweaks, but quite nice.
I love how you just,
And-
as you're plugging it, talk about how it's...
Hey, if anyone knows me, they know that I'm a little too painfully honest about certain things.
All right, be painfully honest. Painfully honest. You promise?
Yeah.
You promise?
Yes.
Talk to me about Floridita real quick. You
It's
promise to be painfully honest.
It's a little different.
Okay.
It's just we just used a little less juice this time because I wanted to keep the acidity, soften the acidity a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely did.
Ooh, I think this.
What do you think of it, though?
I like it. It's a little more drinkable.
It is more. It's a lot more drinkable, right?
What are you going to do in the next batch?
Super cold. This is a perfect rosé beer.
Cold, yeah, it's pretty warm.
Beer's
so it's-
great. I do think I loved it last summer. I drank so much of it. I would bring it to cookouts and stuff. It was, even to me, it seemed so calm. It was a bit much for other people.
Oh yeah.
And I noticed some people would grab it, but then some people would just kind of leave it. I think I'm with you. So
Yeah.
I love this beer. I think this is one of the best beers in Chicago. I
excellent.
think Floridita is awesome. I think it's really, really cool.
Sweet.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going down to Memphis in a couple of weeks for Wiseacres Taste of Rarity. So if there's anyone in Memphis, come and check us out. Buy tickets. It's a super cool event. That's fun. That's always a fun one.
And
You
a
get
cool brewery, too.
A lot of cool breweries, a lot of Chicago representation there. Just, so.
Cool. And Mike, anything you would like to talk about?
No, I'm good. I'm on this every week. I can't think of anything right now.
Serge, anything you would like to say? All right, let's just hear what he has to say.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.